Good evening to all the panelists and welcome to India International CSR Summit 2020. And today's theme is Corporate Social Responsibility 4.0. And CSR has been a buzzword since India has been the first country to introduce statutory provisions with respect to CSR under Companies Act 2013. In the first 5 years of the mandated CSR era, India Inc. has made significant progress from adoption to application of the law and now from alignment to sustainable development goals. Now, the IICSR 2020 brings in CSR leaders, civil society leaders, and foundation leaders to address some challenges, open opportunities, and learnings based on their experiences. A cross fertilization of thoughts between policymakers, funders, researchers, and implementers would be facilitated, highlighting key parameters for measurable, scalable, and sustainable impact. Once again, welcome all the panelists to the India International CSR Summit 2020. My first guest this evening is the co-chair of IICSR 2020, Dr. K.K. Upadhyay. Dr. K.K. Upadhyay is widely respected and seasoned development professional with over 4 decades of experience across government, non-for-profits, academia, and corporate. He has pioneered several innovative and successful models that exist in the development sector today. He has been a pivotal part of the CSR journey in India as a thought leader, practitioner, and former head of the FICCI Aditya Birla CSR Center for Excellence. He has been an expert with Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs and on board of several non-profits, including National Trust, Jan Sthirta Kosh, UN Global Compact, an experienced writer, trainer, speaker, and researcher, recognized with various awards like the recent Lifetime Achievement Award and many others along this exciting journey with titles like Thought Leader, CSR Leader of India 2017, Mahatma, etc. Dr. Upadhyay, welcome to this inaugural session of the India International CSR Summit. We would like to hear from you about the opening remarks on today's theme of corporate social responsibility 4.0.
First of all, thanks a lot, Sandeep. It's always a pleasure to be in company of such a distinguished people. CSR has come a long way. When we talk about CSR, we have to take into consideration few things. Like industry plays a major role in terms of economy of the country. The economy of country depends a lot on the corporate. This year's budget, I mean 2019, when finance minister presented the budget, out of the 100 paisa, out of 1 rupee, 21 paisa came from the corporate tax only. And there is a lot of indirect contribution to the country. So one cannot ignore corporate when you talk about development. Like the Prime Minister have been saying, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Saath. That cannot be done without corporate. And this whole journey started long back. When corporate started their journey, they were using the resources. So out of that, they started giving what we call charity. Charity slowly became philanthropy when it was little more organized. Like where they started their plants, where they started mining, they started looking after people around that plant or that place. That's how the whole philanthropy came. With time, with more corporates coming in, more money being coming together, like Mahatma Gandhi said, you are trustee of the wealth for the people. That's where this whole connection we started talking about the community on one hand and corporate on the other and government in between. That's where when things were not up to the mark, Government decided to bring a legislation where corporates have to contribute towards the development of the society. It was called Corporate Social Responsibility in the New Company Act 2013, Clause 135. They mandated 2% of the net profit to be spent on corporate social responsibility. With time, lot of notifications, lot of law has come in, and lot of corporates have started giving in. With pandemic, things started changing again. With pandemic, the recession, the companies started getting pressure. Most of them, especially the medium and small ones, they had to stop their operations because they could not operate in those areas. This has been good time for few companies, but a bad time for most of them. In March, government brought COVID-related activities into the CSR ambit. Like if you spend on COVID, it becomes compliance for the 2% spending on CSR. Similarly, R&D was added, lot of other things were added. Then government came out with PM Care Fund. Lot of corporates they contributed towards the PM Care Fund. So they are also contributing to PM Care Fund, and also they have spent a lot on CSR in terms of COVID spending. Now the role of corporates becomes very crucial at this point of time, where country is facing a pandemic. We need corporate, and expectation from the corporate has also gone up. Now people expect more from the corporates that they will do much better for the corporates now. With this, there's a lot of pressure on the corporates to perform, to report, and to get connected to the community. That's where I feel this type of webinars, awards, or recognition becomes very important. IICSR has come at a very right time where we have to connect corporate with the community through government and also bring it into the public domain. So I feel Sandeep, uh,
Yes,
brand is doing a great job by getting into this, and our esteemed panelists they will bring out it more clear when we go forward. Thanks a lot, Sandeep.
thank you. Now, my next guest this evening for this evening session is Mr. Vivek Prakash. And Mr. Prakash is the Vice President and Head CSR at Jubilant Life Sciences Limited. He's working in this organization since May 2006. A postgraduate in labor and social welfare, he has acquired knowledge of corporate social responsibility from over some 23 years of experience in the manufacturing sector. His current responsibility includes strategic corporate CSR planning and monitoring aligned to corporate business needs to deliver corporate business objectives as applicable, identifying social risks, preparing strategic plans for mitigation measures, advise CSR plan, provide technical assistance and guidance to the leadership team. Mr. Vivek Prakash also handles the not-for-profit wing of the group, Jubilant Bharatiya Foundation. Welcome you, Mr. Vivek Prakash.
Thank you, Sandeep. Uh, Actually, I was listening Mr. Upadhyay, who has, I think, clearly set the tone. Uh, so we need. So I think that today's topic, which we got when we were discussing about this entire event. So
Yeah.
so all the topics were important in the present scenario,
Yeah.
and the major thing which i I was told to in fact speak about is the changing the aligning CSR initiative in the changing economic scenario. So
Yes.
again I think uh, this pandemic has changed the entire thing, entire
Yeah.
equation in the society, not only in the corporate, but in the government also, in the society, and so even political environment also. Now people are taking vote in the name of COVID vaccine. So now you can imagine how this so we had never seen health as agenda in the in fact politics, but now US election is has happened in the name of COVID. Now in India also we have seen that now people are utilizing this COVID as part of agenda. It means health is now becoming agenda. So I think this is a good time when health, education, and livelihood, these are becoming actual agenda of this entire politics. So now coming to this CSR part for the in fact now there are two things. The one thing which is very important, which is going on in the present scenario, is the lot of restrictions are coming on NGOs who are the actual implementer of CSR project. So no doubt there are many foundations like us in our company also. We have our own foundation, but we are not. We are few. There are very few companies who are having their own foundation, but the many companies, especially this MSMEs or many other big corporates, so they are not having foundation. So who are actually implementing the project? So these NGOs, and again the condition of NGOs, lot of restrictions are coming on them also. So this is one aspect. On other aspect, for the CSR also, there are a lot of expectation, not only from government but from the society also, especially when you are running a company. So starting from village panchayat, a ward member, to a municipal ward member, or the chairman of ward member, or the sarpanch or pradhan of that village, to the PM care fund, all are having expectation from corporate, and they are doing this CSR as ad hoc fund, so they can get any time. Even in the mid of financial year, we are getting lot of requests, and again, especially companies who are into manufacturing or mining. You just imagine, because they have to run the business. So the collector is telling at district level, okay, there is some issue, you give fund. So there is a provision of CSR in the Companies Act. So you have to spend CSR money, and this work is coming under. They are also aware about that. They have, in fact, gone through the entire rule. So they will show you the rule also. So one day I was there in at one of our plant, and the CEO of that municipal corporation. So he was having printout of that act, and he was showing me, see, this is there is some provision. So you spend on this activity. So now they are dictating us. So you now cannot decide. So whatever need they have, accordingly you have to plan. So now this is another scenario. So how to in fact plan your activities, how to strategize your CSR activities in your organization. It's a very big task, especially for the corporate. So in my view, now you have to think, because the CSR, the way in India we have adopted, this is not actual CSR. I'm saying, if you are not giving proper benefit to your employees who are day and night working for you, the community who are in and around you, you are not taking care of them, and you are spending money in any marathon, this is not CSR. So you have to first take care of those important stakeholders who are connected with your business and who are important for you. So I think CSR is the best provision in this entire Companies Act, where you can address the legitimate expectation of the stakeholders. And I'm not saying just you spend on employees. For the employees, there are a lot of other provisions. But who will take care of those who are directly or indirectly affected due to your operation? The immediate community. So now you just consider them as part of your business, and CSR is a tool to engage with them. But again, you cannot go for all the activities. So in my view, you have to think now. All the CSR leaders or all the NGOs, even NGOs, should now think. So how to present to any company or submit any proposal for CSR funding. So I think there is a need now to develop a project which is linked with the business. I'm not saying you do the business, but it should be linked with the business. I'm giving you one example. I think it will suffice the entire discussion. So, uh, Jubilant is into life sciences business, product and services. A lot of things are there. So there is one product, herbal product is there, which we are manufacturing and which require neem powder. I'm giving you one live example. So I also learned during this entire process. So
Okay.
now, what happened? I One day there was a review going on, and I was hearing that supply chain is procuring this neem leaves from various part of the country, and they are paying a good amount on leaves because neem powder is a basic raw material for that particular product. Then then I discussed where are you doing this production of this product? They told in Gujarat. Then again, I realized that in Gujarat, we are having more than 100 SHGs, which we have developed in the last 10 years. Why not utilize that SHG for collecting leaves, pulverizing leaves, drying the leaves, pulverizing it, and make it powder and give it to company? So it will create livelihood to those SHG members also, and then company will get sustained supply of raw material in the neighborhood. They need not required to source it from Kerala or Karnataka or Rajasthan or any other part. So they will get raw material in the nearby area, and they will create livelihood also, a sustained livelihood, because there will be a business connection. And if there will be more production, they can do marketing at other places also. So that is the project. Then immediately I activated my team. I told them, okay, now you think on this, how to go ahead on this and then implement it. So there were two, three requirements: skill development for drying. So then again we did lot of research. So there is a system of solar drying. So solar dryer. Then again we thought, so again, the idea came from the community. So they told in during monsoon how we will dry. So it will take at least 15 to 20 days. So then again, they came out with the idea that, okay, we will go for dual dryer, solar dryer, and electrical dryer. So that in case of monsoon, they will dry it with the same dryer through electricity. Otherwise, they will utilize solar dryer. And then pulverization unit and then supplying to company. So again, I think this kind of project we need to think. So the same way, there is one company in Jubilant. So I'm giving you examples. So the same way we can create lot of such impact ventures in the society, and these works are not company's job. This SHG formation or producer company formation of producer company and then linking them. This is the job of NGO. So now NGOs should also come up with the idea. They should first discuss with the companies and identify the opportunities where they can connect the local community with the business. And this will be a win-win situation for both, for the company, for the community also, because both will get benefit out of it. So I think now this is the requirement, this is the time when you have to think, so how to create such projects and how to in fact create such projects under CSR and which is sustainable. Tomorrow, if there will be no profit, I know that that company will, my business will support that initiative. They will never stop adding new SHGs, giving them solar dryer or giving them some other thing, because then they are aware that ultimately they are going to benefit their business. So I think now there is requirement to think on in fact linking CSR with the business, and you, if you will have some purpose, certainly the profit will come. If you have a purpose to create in fact livelihood in and around you, or goodwill in and around your company, certainly you will do good thing, and that will ultimately add profit to your company. So in my view, in the present scenario, in the present economic condition, you have to think, especially corporate have to think, so to align their CSR activities in such a manner that they are adding value in the life of the local community. Otherwise, and direct benefit, if they are getting livelihood, roti, kapda, and makan through this CSR funding, certainly they will be happy, and they will work for company, and they will help company even in the case of emergency. So in the present scenario, I am giving you live example. Not a single plant of Jubilant Life Sciences is stopped during this COVID. While we are directly or indirectly into pharmaceutical, but all our plants are not pharmaceutical. Even then, all our plants were operational during this time. So because we strategize the entire thing. So this is from my side, and if there will be any question, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prakash, for your enlightening session. And now my next guest is Mr. Jayant Rastogi. He is the global CEO of Magic Bus. Jayant Rastogi joined Magic Bus as the Chief Executive Officer India in September 2016. Recently, he was elevated as the global CEO. Jayant comes with 25 plus years of corporate experience and was previously the CEO of Motorola Solutions South Asia, and has been in leadership positions at an Asia Pacific level for the last 15 years. Post Motorola, he had a stint as an investor and entrepreneur, co-founding two technology-led ventures, one a social venture focused on providing affordable healthcare for the less privileged, and other an aggregator platform for commercial transportation. At Magic Bus, Jayant has established a strong sense of culture, passion, accountability, and responsibility towards the cause, ensuring that each of their 2,000 odd employees strives to deliver a high quality and impactful program. In the last 2 years at Magic Bus, Jayant has built a highly engaged and dynamic team consisting of both the development and corporate sector. In his journey at Magic Bus, he has automated business operations, bringing strong governance, efficiency, rigor, besides deepening the impact. Welcome you, Mr. Rastogi, to this session.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sandeep. Sandeep, is it possible that I can share a presentation, or I could just...
There is a screen share is there. Screen sharing is there in the below. You can do that also.
Fantastic. Thank you. So before I do that, actually, thank you so much. I think it's a real privilege to be actually on this panel. Such distinguished guests as Mr. Upadhyay, Vivek Prakashji, Ajit, and Jaswita. So wonderful to be actually here. Before I kind of just start, I'll just give you a little bit of context. Like Sandeep mentioned, I've been actually on both sides. I've been on the corporate side, and I've also been on the. Let me just look at the screen sharing. Okay, I think this is a little different application window. Okay, I don't think there is a possibility to. This is really. It's not.
On the bottom, there is a box.
I can see. I know that, but I can't see the screen share. I can't see that particular application. Anyway, that's okay.
Share screen is there.
But I can't.
Cam mic.
In the bottom, there is mic.
Mute, stop cam, then cam and mic, and then.
Yeah, not a problem. Not a problem.
Okay.
I see that application over here.
Even I can't see that option. I think it's there with the organizers, but it's not there with us. So even I can't see that at the bottom.
Okay.
So one second. Let me just give it one last shot. Okay, great. Not a problem. So let me just kind of
Can you try now, sir? Can you try now? Do you see share screen at the bottom?
I can see. I have share screen. I have an option.
When you click on share screen, you will see your entire screen. The second one says application window, and then
the application window is that what I can see that, but I can see on the application window. I can see that particular application. I don't know why.
So can you just close your PowerPoint presentation and open once again?
Okay, I can. No, I can't. I'll manage without, but that's fine.
Okay.
So, sorry for this technical glitch. So I'll start with basically what makes the difference between something being an investment or an expense, and this is what I've been actually asked to speak about. So it is people's values and attitude. So I think closer home, if you really look at Tata's. I think if you look at Tata's, so what is it that comes to your mind? The first thing that comes to your mind is basically a company which is human, which is which has good value systems. And if you look at the Tata model, the model is that 66% of their profits, or close to 70%, is actually what they actually plow back into philanthropy. And so what I'm trying to say is that doing basically doing good is also makes good business sense. They've grown tremendously. They've done well. I'll also contextualize a little bit over here that in terms of if you look at the problems, these are really complex intergenerational problems. Like Upadhyay ji said that this whole CSR thing was started almost 6 years back. See, the total investment is close to 15 to 20,000 crores. Probably next year might be lower because of whatever's happening in that sector today. And there are problems which are intergenerational old problems, and there are new problems which are coming up. So, for example, the first thing which, if you look at the new problems, there's this whole intersection of, so other than environment, which is probably of late, but there's another new problem which is about intersection of information technology and biotechnology, where people are saying minds can be hacked. There's also the gig economy. So these are new. So we've still not solved the old problems, but there are new ones which keep coming in. So the question is, how do we kind of solve these, and how do we solve this in a sustainable way so that we are able to kind of leave something behind for all times to come. And this can happen only when we actually use this whole mindset of investment rather than expense. So one was the Tata example. The other thing again I would kind of talk about is Azim Premji. Again, a great leader, fantastic. If you look at Azim Premji, they gave us a grant. And what they did was they actually looked at a whole strategy first. And they looked at, which were the weak links in the strategy. They got experts to help us co-create the strategy. And after doing 1.5 years of, this due diligence and working on the strategy, they decided that they will invest a certain amount to build capacities. Now, this is what I would say is the investment mindset. What this does is number one, it helps you scale. It helps you kind of, deepen your impact. It helps you get the right people. And long term, the benefits are really, really great. So what Azim Premji actually, the APPI did with us was they helped us build capacity, get the right people, build a diversified funding portfolio so that we are not dependent on one single portfolio, government relationships and partnerships. So the whole slew of things. And now we are in a far more stronger position to be able to go and deliver what we are, with a lot of governance, a lot of transparency. And so I think when we look at these two companies, what we see is that, they have an improved public image. There's increased brand awareness. They are also able to bring in a lot of efficiencies and cost savings because they always have the investment mindset. Their customer engagement is far more stronger. They have a competitive advantage. And their employee engagement is also really, really good. So which means that, their own internal employee net promoter scores are really, really high. And they do have problems, but I think they can navigate those problems with, I think, relative ease or more seamlessly than other organizations. Now let's look at this whole expense versus investment mindset. Let me give you an example of a trainer. See, when we look at a trainer's salary, let's say we're giving the trainer $25,000, and I'm looking at what the trainer will do. He will come to my livelihood center and he will train 25 people's batch. That is it. Now that is one way of looking at it, which is the expenditure mindset. Now when I look at it as an investment mindset, what do I look at? I see that maybe I'm giving 25. Let me try and maybe put another 5 or 10,000 bucks more. Get a good trainer at 35,000 bucks. This person will train 100 other trainers who will train another 50 trainers, and it has a cascading effect, which is kind of all across. So this is what I mean by an investment mindset. Similarly, I think as implementation organizations or on the donor side, we all do a lot of research work in terms of when I'm saying research or impact or M&E, I mean people will do baseline. Okay, you do a baseline, fine, you spend some money, you got a baseline. Next, you do a midline, then an end line. The question is, if you could kind of, be a little bit more strategic about it, you do it as an investment. What you do is you leave an impact, which is a deepened impact over a period of time. So if you can just change your mindset from basically an expense kind of a thing that, I'll look at an agency which will get this, to rather, building a complete impact uh, module, which actually helps me, deepen my impact, study the data, etc. So this is exactly what we've done. Now on the technology side, again, I can look at that. Okay, I need to put in, a certain amount of some few crores into IT. Now, where do I get the money from? How do I do it? And does it really help me? Short term, maybe no. Long term, definitely yes. So when we came into when I joined Magic Bus, what we did was we did complete ERP, HRMS, CRM, field mobility. So we put technology behind it. What it did was, number one, it brought in transparency. The information which used to take us 60, 70 days to kind of from the field to travel to head office used to happen real time now. So if problems are there, we can proactively take correctives. It also brings in greater transparency. We know that when a session in a remote village has happened, it has actually happened because there is data which shows that there are photographs, geo, date, timestamp. So there's a huge amount of benefits which have come. It has also helped us reduce our overhead costs by half. So again, I think a great example for expenditure one versus investment. I think the other thing is basically about uh, a lot of corporates. I'm seeing that a lot of corporates, big corporates, are now getting into this investment mindset. But I think it's a two-way street. It is basically, I think, both the corporate and the NGO, the implementation partner, have to take steps. I think one of the most important things to be able to do this is to be able to build trust. You have to have absolute credibility. You have to have strong governance processes. And when you build trust and you are credible, then I don't think your funder minds investing, because he knows that the money is going in for the right things. Also, I think there has to be an alignment. I heard Vivek Prakash ji actually say this, that, I think that meme example, which was really fantastic. I think there has to be alignment in terms of the vision, mission of the organization and what they want to do. So if they want to kind of, look at self-help groups, or, help local people, or they want to kind of, look at education and why they want to do education or livelihood or whatever it is, it has to be part of the vision, mission, overall objective. It has to somehow connect with that. That is when, I think everybody in the leadership team also connects. And I think, it's just not, one person driving this agenda. They have to be well-defined metrics, results, I would say outcomes, and milestones. And ever if as an implementation organization you're not able to deliver on that, be honest about it. Go back and say that this is it. Come out with a plan B where you can help reach those outcomes, or and I'm sure the corporates do understand that these are generations old problems and they won't get solved in a day or two, or in a year. So everybody understands that, but be honest about it. So I think the other thing is that when we talk about these complex issues, again there are a set of tangible problems, and some of them are intangibles. Some of it can be measured, some of it cannot be measured. And typically, what happens is the tangibles are short term, and the intangibles are long term. And I would look at when the investment mindset is there, what it does is it brings in a long term change. It brings in a change which is there for times to stay. It would kind of even when I would say the program stops or the NGOs to exit that particular geography or program, it should leave something which kind of ensures that they maintain, or they're able to kind of whatever good or things that they have done are there, are staying, are there to stay. So for example, bringing some kind of systemic change, or getting doing some advocacy, and changing the government's thinking on certain bringing with the evidence, obviously changing the government's thinking on certain things, getting maybe teachers to start delivering some of those programs, building self-help groups. There are multiple such examples, but all of this would take time. So I would say that I think it's a two-way street. Both of them have to kind of take a step towards getting into this investment mindset. I think this the gains, like I've said, are plenty. it's important that more and more funders start really looking at it from an investment mindset, and I do understand that both the funder and the NGO have to kind of work together towards it. In closing, I would just say that the investments yield results, any expense does not. So if you want returns, then you have to have the investment mindset. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being here with all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Jayant, for choosing this important subject. CSR is really an investment, not an expenditure. And my next guest is Ms. Jasrita Dheer. She is a TEDx speaker, startup mentor, entrepreneur, brand evangelist, digital marketer, CSR professional, communicator, and marketer. She has been the ex-AVP Brand Marketing and CSR of Fortis Healthcare. Jasrita has led brand marketing, digital marketing, and CSR for Fortis Healthcare Group as an AVP. Her forte is strategic brand management, marketing, digital transformation, and adoption, corporate communication, and public relations. In her role at Fortis, she has thoroughly enjoyed the opportunity to create and upscale the digital footprint of brand Fortis. Digital assets are leveraged as demand generation avenues, thereby rendering marketing as a revenue generation function, not merely a cost center. And Jasita has worked in the services sector throughout, from hospitality to healthcare, with a short stint in media. Cause-based marketing or purpose-led communication is close to her heart, and she headed 4 CSR programs run by Fortis CSR Foundation. Welcome you, Ms. Jasrita. Now is a time for you to speak on your subject.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you. And I think it was a brilliant segue for me to come in, the way you've structured this, the entire panel discussion with Jayant talking about how the view to CSR should not be that of an expense, but of a long-term investment, right? That is the view, because that is the view of a brand manager as well. That is the view of brand per se, brand management per se, because anything that you're doing here and now is a scheme, is at best a promotion. But for a brand to be built, for people to have affinity with your brand, and for your brand to have equity in the minds of the consumer, it has to be in for the long haul. So therefore, that is the first correlation, when you want to align CSR with brand image and reputation, which is what I'm going to be talking about today. The first prerequisite is that you need to have a long-term view. You need to be in it for the long haul, and have to look at it as an investment. You invest in your brand, you invest in CSR, and sure enough, the brand does reap rich dividends, not just in terms of profits, but also in terms of equity, as we have seen with some brands which are not living brands anymore, but the equity has outlived their sort of reputation. So as we talk about, before we delve into it, I have a small presentation which I had mailed across. So I'd request Lancy, if Lancy could help put it up. Yes, thank you. We could go to the next slide, please. Right. So why CSR, first of all? Why to align CSR with brand image and reputation? And here I've put in a quote of Niall Fitzgerald. Niall Fitzgerald is the ex-CEO of Unilever. And Unilever, as we all know, knows a thing or two about aligning CSR with brand image and reputation, and also with business, because they have created some of the most sustainable brands on the planet and sustainable living brands on the planet. So Niall Fitzgerald, the ex-CEO, says corporate social responsibility is a hard-edged business decision, not because it's a nice thing to do, or because people are, could we go back to the earlier slide, please? Not because it's a nice thing to do, or because people are forcing us to do it, but because it is good for our business. If you look at Dove, if you look at Knorr, if you look at Lipton, if you look at Close Up, these are all Unilever brands. but these are part of their sustainable living brands. And as sustainable living brands, they outperform all other brands in the Unilever portfolio. They bring in upwards of 60% of the revenues and are one of the most memorable brands with which people have a strong affinity. And all that is responsible because of not just that they are good products, that has to be good product and good marketing and all of that, but because these are also sustainable products, because these are also eco-friendly products, also because they have worked assiduously over the years for decades now in building more eco-friendly and sustainable solutions, and which is what one of the tenets of CSR is. The RepTrack did a research in 2018, and I've put the 2 bullet points here on this slide, which says 91.4, nearly 92% of the respondents would buy from a company, from a brand with an excellent CSR program. And because the buyers today are changing, today the buyers are millennials and Generation Z. And for millennials and Generation Z, why different things matter to them. Today, they have the share of the wallet. And what matters to them is not really ownership. They are really the gig economy and the sharing economy. But what matters to them is what sort of a carbon footprint is a brand leaving behind on the planet. What matters to them is that what is your policy when it comes to LGBTQ? How much diversity? How much inclusion? What are you doing in terms of reforestation? What are you doing plastic waste? Are you leaving behind a whole lot of junk? I mean, these kind of things are important to millennials and to Generation Z as they make their everyday purchase decisions. And therefore, CSR is not just one of those things that the brand does as 2% because of compliance, but that is something that you have to do as an everyday business, because that is one of the critical buying decisions that every millennial and Gen Z is making. Equally important is the next point, which is that nearly 85% of respondents would give brands with excellent CSR programs, which they've established over a period of time, the benefit of doubt in the event of crises. And isn't that what the life of a brand image manager or a reputation manager is? That you want to have that coffer of good, that coffer of good sentiment, positive sentiment and positive affinity for your brand that you can dip into in the event of a crisis. And this research, overwhelmingly says that people would give a benefit of doubt. A little bit of a sting would be taken away at the time of a crisis. So therefore, it makes sense for brands to, align their CSR with their brand image and reputation. Very quickly, before we move to the next slide, right on this slide only, if you want to align your brand CSR with the image and reputation, to my mind, there are 3 or 4 things that you have to keep in mind. First is consistency. And long term, like I mentioned. Few examples. If you look at Dettol has been doing Dettol Swachh Bharat Abhiyan for many, many years. So it started small, then it went, because that was the year of the Kumbh, so they went to the Kumbh Mela, so it was very topical, localized. And thereafter, they kept expanding the scope. They kept making it relevant to what was happening in the environment in terms of bad air, pollution, then plastic waste, today COVID. And now they have moved to the next level, which is from Swachh Bharat, they moved to Swasth Bharat. So this is also logical graduation. And therefore, for people, Dettol is not just an antiseptic or a soap with which you, sort of wash your hands. But that is almost becoming synonymous with the health and sanitation standard in the country. So consistency and long term, that's one. Think about it as you think about your brands and aligning it. Second, it cannot be siloed. This is a point that Jayant made. This is a point that Vivek made before that. It has to be connected to the main business. Of course, you do not do CSR because you want more business to happen. The reason for doing CSR should not be more profits, more unit selling. That shouldn't be. That's not the right reason to do CSR. But as a happy byproduct of CSR, one sees that there is a fillip that one gets to the business. So in the long run, it's a win-win. It has to be connected to the main business. Do not pick up something like, I'm going to use hyperbole and I'm just going to be deliberately bizarre, but what has to happen on Mars, etc. It's not relevant to people. Make it relevant to the communities and the populations that you serve, and there has to be some playback and some plowback to your brand and to the products and services that you make. So do not make it siloed. Do not make it completely abstract or disconnected to what your line of business is. And third, walk the talk, because actions certainly speak louder than words. And here I have this example of Starbucks that I'm sure most of us would be aware with. Of Starbucks' motto says to nourish the human spirit. That's what they stand for. And that's what they try to do. And over a period of time, there are lots of things that Starbucks has done. Even in the time of COVID, most recently, we would remember that in US, they said that all the healthcare workers who are so overworked at the time of a crisis, a latte or whatever your coffee is on us. Please take it, because that's our way of saying thank you. So there's something that they have been doing for the communities that they serve over a period of time. Now we know that in 2019 they had this problem, 2018-19, where two African Americans, were for trespassing in one of their Philadelphia stores. And there was a huge uproar that had happened, saying that because these are African Americans, this kind of police excesses have happened, and it wouldn't happen with a white person. Now, what did Kevin Johnson do? Kevin Johnson, the CEO at that time of Starbucks, not only publicly apologized, but he also met these men, the men who were wronged. And not just that, he didn't stop only at that. Shut down the stores for 3 to 4 hours, for one half of the day, all the stores in US, and did a anti-racism sensitivity training for nearly 175,000 employees, which were there, right? So this is how, as a result, what happened is that Starbucks came out pretty much unscathed from this crisis, which we know in US because of this intergenerational issue is a big issue. Today also this issue is raging. But Starbucks came up pretty much unscathed, and that you can't do, as a gimmick, that you can't do as a one-off thing. Maybe as a fluke you can do it one-off, but when you invest in your brand through CSR, through serving your communities, through eco-friendly, sustainable solutions over a period of time, this is the kind of a payback that your brand enjoys. With these 3 examples, I think we can move to the next slide, please. And on the next slide, I have a case study for how at Fortis we've done. We'll quickly run through it, And again, like I mentioned, that for a brand, it's important to do what your main line of business is. And being a leading healthcare provider of the country, one realized that there's enough happening in the area of physical health, but mental health is a concern which hasn't got its place under the sun. While little did one know that, with COVID, this will come really out, in the open, which are the ill effects of a pandemic, not just on physiological health, but also on mental health. But when we started this program, almost about a decade ago, the reason for starting this program was to say that mental health needs to get its due. It impacts a sizable section of the population. The impacts are debilitating on people, right from from a taboo to being vilified, to being sidelined, to some people committing suicide, And therefore, one wanted to invest in this as the main line of for Fortis as a brand. With that, we can move to the next slide, please.
I think there is a problem in the voice. Can't hear can't hear you.
So she has left. She will join again, I believe.
Yeah. I think we'll switch to our next guest. Is Mr. Ajit Kumar there? Mr. Ajit is there?
Yes, I'm back.
Yeah. Now my next guest is Mr. Ajit Kumar. He is the founder Khusigram platform for integration and aggression across sectors. Khusigram partnership-based model with communities, companies, organizations, governments, and individuals was born based on interactions with many presidents, PMs, UN and UN department heads, Nobel laureates, and knowledge shared by wisest people. He's a thought leader, planner, organizer, institution builder, innovator, social and green entrepreneur, speaker, mentor, and motivator, bringing diverse groups together. He's working on SDGs targeting 10 million sustainable and satisfying livelihoods in villages and smart cities. We welcome Mr. Ajit on this platform.
Thank you. Best part is to speak in the end. So, can you hear me, na?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So, best part is when the wisest people have spoken. So, you speak in the end when the wisest people have spoken. So, most of the uh, important points are spoken. So, you have to just add on a little bit more to it, whatever more. So, it was wonderful listening to the previous speakers. A lot of learnings for our synergies and integration. Uh, my topic is full planet and profit, and I feel most of you have been doing that all together, trying to combine all these in your CSR initiatives, taking it as a strategic CSR initiative. When we talk of planet, people, and profits, this is what we have been doing always. And today, corporates are like kingdoms. So corporates are kingdoms, have to manage like kings, and they have to manage their entire empire. In the empire, not only the profits are there of the corporates, but apart from profits, they have to take care of the environment around and the people around. So not only their staff, but the people living around their functional areas. So moving ahead, what we need to do, what we are doing, and what can be done further is the government has now taken a big leap in terms of aspirational districts, which we spoke in one of our previous seminars also and focused on that. So there are a lot of districts in so-called, which were called so-called backward districts, have been now given the term aspirational districts to inspire and to so, including the district people. If they call backward, the people are not. A lot of work needs to be done there, as well as in other places, to take care of all these three three biggest stakeholders we are talking about: environment, that we call planet, people, all of us, we are humans, and profits. So, and in the environment, we take care of all our biodiversity partners in terms of animals and rivers and mountains, all the natural habitats, everything that is there. And CSR can, and what CSR has done in many places, as an example, is that they have boosted the enterprises, the micro and small and medium enterprises. the self-help group, as one of our previous speakers, in fact, Vivek Prakash said how he has utilized the SHGs in the raw materials and products from the self-help groups. Similarly, other organizations have also done similar initiatives, and do is they create local livelihood supply chain, and the local livelihoods are mostly eco-friendly because people don't have to travel. So the logistics, supply chain, not only the cost but the environment is taken care of. So this is a very good thing that we are trying to create livelihoods for the people in the places they are, not bringing them to the cities. Because whatever we do, we can't have the smart cities unless the numbers in cities, smart cities, are limited and balanced. If we continue the inflow or the influx of the people to the villages and taking livelihoods from the cities, not possible for us to have or maintain or talk about the smart cities. So, what has to be done is creating livelihoods in the villages, creating livelihoods in the tribal towns, the tribal villages, as well as small towns. People, most of us, some of us at least start from the villages. I was born in a village, and early education was in a small tribal town in Jharkhand, then moved to the state capital, then the national capital. So, looking at all the experiences, we feel that everywhere there is a lot of scope, and the opportunities are diverse. What we need to do is integrate. Like many organizations are working in their own way in a particular district or cities. In cities like in the districts in aspiration, we can take care of uh, one or two sectors like health sector, maybe three companies like other companies can take care of in the areas that they're working or the major districts that they're working. Once they do, then not only they take care of health, but they take care of other aspects also with the partners, because one partner can do lot of good things in a particular sector, but not all the sectors. So if they are partner, three four partner companies, and including PSUs or local government also, and there might be panchayat in the villages, and the cities, their municipal corporations or the municipalities, along with the district governments, lot can be done. And this can only be achieved if you use the CSR money very strategically, not just spending somewhere, giving to some NGO, and just monitoring the NGO and let them do what they do, but helping and guiding the NGOs also who are doing the CSR activity for the companies, as well as working with the MSMEs in collaboration with the panchayats or municipal bodies, and of course wherever required, take help of the state government, central government, or international bodies also for their R&D inputs and research, and help in marketing and using or adding values through technology. So I think whatever we are doing, and whatever work has been started as a CSR initiative, which has been done earlier as philanthropy or as a social work earlier, can be integrated very well, integrated with government schemes and plans, and as well as our mainstream corporate activities that we are doing. And all these activities are profitable. Wherever we work, we get profits. But along with profit, if we add the welfare of the people around, and as well as if we add, if we take care of the environment, systems and works can go in a sustainable manner for a longer time, because the uh, ecosystem is not affected in a negative way. So the environment remains good for the works. I think I'll end here, and then I like to respond to the queries or questions in the next session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ajit. If Jasrita is there, she can continue with her presentation. I think
Yes,
she had
I'm
a
there.
wonderful presentation. Yes.
Yes, yes.
You may not use the slides, but you can
I can talk.
finish up
I can
that.
talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can
Yes.
refer
Yes.
from it. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was talking about the Fortis School mental health program that we've been running, and in the pandemic, when the schools were shut and when there was this anxiety, there were about 1,400 schools across the country which we covered uh, on things like coping with anxiety during uncertain times, managing work from home during the pandemic, positive social media usage, and building resilience, and this is not something, while we made it topical and relevant to the pandemic, but this is something that we've been, like I said, been doing it for more than a decade now. And in 2019, if I talk about the themes are very different. In 2019, we were talking about things like bullying, prevention of bullying, gender sensitization, risk behavior management, and caring for the environment. These are the kind of things that we were talking. So part of CSR and aligning it to your brand image is also about responding to the changing needs of the environment and being nimble on the feet and answering what the needs of the environment are. So while you have a long-term view, but that doesn't stop you from having a short-term sort of a response, as long as it is taking you in the direction where you want to go, and your tactical moves are not taking you away from the strategic, direction where your brand is headed. In the pandemic, also, there are some free ebooks that we wrote, which are available on Kindle, which is how to engage with your child while working from home, and how to keep your mind fit during the pandemic. Talking about the helpline, which I think is the single biggest useful tool that Fortis National Mental Health Program has given us. There is a helpline that Fortis runs in 16 different languages. We have a slide on that. I don't know if they can put it up. That is only for people to know the number. It's the second last slide, but I'll talk about it. So it's a national helpline which is run in 16 Indian languages, because when we are anxious, when we are having negative thoughts, we want to express ourselves in our sort of language, and also to take away the whole the elitism that is there with CSR programs which are run oftentimes by corporates. It's in 16 Indian languages, which means that if you're from Assam, then the counselor that you'll talk to, she'll talk to you in Ahamiya, and so on and so forth, right? And it provides crisis intervention by health experts, and it is totally free of cost, and it is 24/7, 365 days a year. So even at the middle of the night, if somebody who's God forbid suicidal calls, will get a counselor at the end. The number is there. It's there in the presentation, but I can talk about it. It's 83768040102. So also, if we talk about the impact of all these activities, because CSR cannot just be about effort statement, it has to be an impact statement at the end of the day. Effort has to lead to impact. And if you talk about so the impact of these efforts, pre-pandemic, the mental health team used to receive about 200 calls in a month. Post-pandemic, during pandemic and post-pandemic, they are receiving about 300 calls a week. So that is the kind of impact that this kind of assiduous sort of dogged pursuit of this, your brand management programs is having, and your CSR interventions is having. Finally, as we talk about impact, there's 100 million, reach that had happened during 2019. Since the pandemic in March, there are over 50 million lives that have been touched virtually through webinars, through live sessions on Facebook, Instagram, and through this the helpline, which is there for people. And what has it helped in? If you were to go by any tool, any index, any third-party tool which is available, you'll see that the most recalled brand when it comes to mental health is Fortis National Mental Health Program. And the brand with the maximum positive sentiment, is the Fortis National Mental Health Program. So I think this is where the whole, life comes full circle, so to say, in terms of what the title for my presentation was, that how do you align your CSR with your brand image and reputation? Why we should do it? There is data and research that supports it. How have brands successfully done it and benefited from it? There is case study that I spoke about in terms of both Dettol, the Dettol Swachh Bharat and Swasth Bharat Abhiyan, and Unilever, as well as Starbucks. And finally, a case study of the Fortis National Mental Health Program. With that, I rest my case, and happy to take any questions if they are there.
Thank you, Jasrita, for your enlightening session.
Sorry about doing it in two parts.
You can't help out. This is the digital India.
Correct.
So connectivity is still a problem, and I would now like Mr. Upadhyay, who is the Dr. Upadhyay, who is the co-chair of this IICSR 2020, to sum up the entire evening session.
Thank you, Sandeep. It has been a very good session. What we are trying to do is we are trying to bring in those issues into the limelight which have been sidelined with
Yes,
the time. Like generally, what people think of CSR is something to do good because companies have an obligation now. With compliance, they take it as a companies have to do it, which is not true. The spirit was let the companies decide what they want to do and where they want to do it. As Vivekji said very nicely, that they have been doing it before also, and they are doing it better now. But we have lot of learnings. What Jasrita brought in terms of the mental health in the COVID times, and Jayant has been very well able to link corporates with the NGOs. I think a new type of a paradigm is coming now where we have to learn to live together. As Vivekji said, and also Ajit said, it's all about stakeholders now. If we all can work together, we can survive. I think Jayant put it very nicely. I would be interested in a future to know about this whole concept, how it's an investment and not an expense. I think a very good topic, Jayant. The way you have put it, it's just excellent. And I think this learning, if we can convert into which we can
yes,
share with more people, this is a very good learning. What Vivekji said about this whole experiment with the neem, where even the Gujarat Corporation now itself is funding entrepreneurs where they can grow neem trees. This is funded by the government, and then this they can supply to the companies. So I think you have been able to link your program to government, where you are also teaching government how to do. I think unless and until we work together, it won't work. So Jayant and Vivekji, I will like to put this whole thing in a new context and disseminate it to more people. I think there are a lot of learnings here which we must go to more people. It was a excellent session. I really enjoyed it, and thanks all for joining us. Over to Sandeep. Yes,
Sandeep,
Sandeep.
Sandeep, you are
You have to unmute yourself.
muted.
yeah. Now, if that can be, you can send us the articles on the topics that you spoke. That I will put it in the ebook. For many people to see, and also we are really sorry that could not put the presentation of Mr. Jayant due to some technical problems, but would have loved to see the presentation that he had. And I would request all the panelists to send this as an article to us, which we will put it in a book form, in an e-book form, which will be circulated among all the CSR heads and the government agencies. We would love to have that. If you can spare some time and send us the articles on the topics that you spoke.
So there is one
And,
more suggestion,
yeah, yeah,
just at the end. So Jasrita, I think
Yeah.
you in fact put a very good in fact example and this project, especially your mental health project. So if you can share with this team and then through IICSR and then
yeah,
through our channel also, so we can share with many other organizations who are working, especially with the schools, so it can reach to those schools, because especially during this time, during this pandemic, your services, especially your school mental health program, is very much needed in this country, and especially for those children who are studying in secondary and higher secondary schools, because they have to face the next board examination and they are in stress. So I think if you, that number, I think I'm just repeating. So I gone through your website, through your website, 83768040102. I think this is the number. So, but again, if you can share the handouts or some brochure, then we can circulate to many other people in our network. Yeah.
Happy to do it, Vivek. Happy to do it. And yes, that's the number. I confirm. And the presentation that I had put out and some more creatives, etc. Which are there for easy consumption. I'll be happy to share it with the entire group here, because this really is the need of the hour. And when you are serving a country the size of a continent, it's not about who's doing it and who's getting the benefit. As many hands and as much proliferation as we can have is something that is the need of the hour. So thank you for that.
And two more projects. I think Ajit, I think you are doing a very good job. So many company, many corporates, and many other NGOs also would be interested to partner with you and take your knowledge, experience, and your working with you. They will be interested. And Jayant, I think we are already partner of Magic Bus. So Magic Bus was one of the finalists of our Social Entrepreneur of the Year award. So Matthew Spacey. So I know the way you are doing, and during this pandemic, we have seen how you activated your team, even during this pandemic. So so your team is doing great job. So we are also working with your team in Greater Noida. We know. So I have visited all your project, but during this pandemic, the way you have started, activated this entire team, it's a very good job. I think we need such a spirit in the entire CSR arena, so that and we have to rebuild this entire, because initially only PM Care was there, and then COVID related activities, just distribute, no impact, no measurement, but that was also needed. But now I think we have to think how to restructure this entire thing. Thank you.
And I think
on behalf of Brand India, please.
Yeah.
So I think really well said, and thank you, for your accolades. But I think when the crisis hits, I think it's really important, whether you're a large organization or a small organization, you have to have the agility to be very quickly pivot yourself so that you can serve your communities. And that's exactly what we did on the adolescent side, where we actually started doing relief work. We are not a disaster recovery organization, but we thought we had to keep them safe. And we pivoted to disaster recovery. And on the livelihood side, I think where we work with you, we immediately moved virtual for a whole program very quickly. And I think that's it's an amazing team which did that. In closing, I would just like to just add one more thing,
Yeah.
See, it's even on the for-profit side, for every 100 organizations that you start, probably only 10 or 15 succeed. Even when a VC or a PE fund actually invests, out of the 10 funds that they fund, only one or one and a half actually succeed. So there is no guarantee for success. But I think, as long as you're honest and you keep trying, I think, you will get there. So that's the spirit that we work with. And thank you so much for inviting me. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of Brand India, thanks all the panelists once again for taking the time out for this session. Wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.